My name is Sarah Kim, and I'm doing this Draw My Life. My sister insisted that I did one, but I felt like I really didn't have much to say. I tried it out anyways for fun. But I guess I discovered some sad, pathetic, deep-rooted childhood feelings through doing this. If you're looking for a Draw My Life full of butterflies, cookies, and rainbows, I suggest that you stop this video now. I would just like to clear the air because there has been a lot of guesses in the comments what my ethnicity and where I was from. Some of you guys guessed Cambodia through some of my slip-ups when I spoke in Khmer, but I'm actually from California and I was born and raised there. But my ethnicity is half Cambodian, half Chinese, and a little sprinkles of Korean, Thai, Vietnamese. But we do more Cambodian and Chinese culture like things at home, and I can speak in Khmer. And I can also have a Espano in Poco. I have a dad that's in love with his fedora hats, and he's a genius that can practically build and fix anything. My mom can grow any kind of plant, and she can cook everything that's Cambodian food. And I may be biased, but I think it's a lot better than most food from restaurants. I have 4 other siblings, 3 of them are girls, and 1 of them is a guy. Sim, Hoi, Sang, and Hit. Those are all their Cambodian names. You have a 13 years of an age gap. They're more like parents than siblings to me. Growing up, it felt like I had 5 moms and 2 dads. Despite having so many siblings, I always felt kind of lonely because I felt like we were always in different points of our lives and I wasn't really growing with them. I wanted to bring the time before I was born. My family was all from Cambodia. It was all great until the Khmer Rouge happened. It's not very well known, I think, but it was a genocide that happened in Cambodia. And it happened around the 1970s-ish. And basically, if you were literate or pretty, you would get killed. My parents, with their 3 to 4 kids, escaped to Cambodia, to Thailand, to Philippines before they finally made it to the US. I said 3 to 4 because my sister wasn't born until they reached Thailand. In Cambodia, they were basically forced to work on rice fields forever, even while my parents were pregnant with my brother, and they had to deal with things like diseases, going hungry, and etc. And one night they managed to sneak through the forest through guides, I guess that they normally helped Cambodians sneak out to Thailand. And let me remind you, they had 3 other kids with them. Plus they had my 2 other cousins they brought along. If you were caught sneaking out of Cambodia, you're basically dead. All the children were sedated to keep quiet, but my brother, who was an infant, of course had to cry. They tried putting a hand over his face to get him to be quiet. My mom basically went ballistic and would rather get caught than to cover his face, but somehow they managed to sneak through undetected. Thailand wasn't any better. During the day, they had to hide from Thai guards, and at night, they had to hide from robbers. Even though they basically had like nothing, they would still get robbed. My parents and my cousins, they spent most of their time in holes during the day, and my siblings would try to blend in with the Thai kids in the Thai playground while starving and just crying, not knowing if they'll see my parents again. And they were 12 and under at the age. My late grandpa was actually in the United States while all this happened. He found out my parents were still alive and the family. He went to church every day with the rest of my relatives to beg the church to help sponsor my mom and her family over. Once they made it to the Philippines, they were able to get everybody over to the US. They first went to Texas before they went to California, where I am right now. My sister said we were really poor back then, so she would sprinkle sugar over rice because it tasted good like that. And we would eat like tons of leftover donuts from donut shops, the ones they would throw out just to be full. The same year they made it to the US, I was born. I pretty much was raised watching TV, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, but mostly Scooby Doo. And I think I've grown up love reading mysteries. My family and my siblings, for the longest I could remember, they would always be working, and I would be alone in my room watching TV with the baby monitor pointed to me, and I could see them on a monitor working. Even from a young age, I kind of knew that we were poor, so I never asked for anything like dolls or anything I wanted. Even an easy bake oven, I remember really wanting that, but I just kept it to myself. Around the age of 4, I went with my parents to a trip to Cambodia. Back there, no matter what happened back there, my parents always wanted to go back to their home there. I remember more memories in Cambodia at the age of 4 very vividly than most part of my life, only because it was really traumatizing and I got sick a lot, and 100% of the time I was vomiting from the weather, food, environment. This is a story that I love to tell all my friends. One day I had to go to use the restroom, and I was told to follow this little boy to the potty. Somehow we ended up in a forest and like a really long bridge to cross. And if you fell, you'd like die. And as I was crossing that bridge, I noticed there were holes in broken parts of the bridge. And the kid who was leading me there was running across the bridge, like shaking it left and right. I somehow managed to make it across the bridge alive to this wooden porta potty. I'll leave it up to your imaginations how wonderful it was in there. Halfway through, I asked if there was any toilet paper, and the little boy did not understand what that meant. After a few minutes, one of my parents' relatives' friends, lady, came out and handed me one of the roughest printer paper you could possibly find on this planet, full of ants. I do not remember wiping that day. Around when I started school, I remember everyone was still busy working. I don't really remember a day in my life I was ever picked up on time for school. And I remember always waiting in the rain a lot. Back then, it actually rained in California, I guess. I remember all the staff from school and the principal would clock out and leave, and I'd still be waiting at school. At some point, I had to get my name and phone number and address sewn onto my dress so someone can call and remind my family that I still existed and to come pick me up. Almost every year, my parents, just the two of them, would be like adios and leave to Cambodia for the summer for 3 long months. Whenever they left, I would get this 3-month long cold, and everyone would guess that it's probably because my parents weren't home and it was just like some kind of mental thing, like I missed them too much. All my siblings were much older, but I was still quite young and I needed my mommy, I think. When my parents were actually home, I remember a lot of physical and verbal abuse that went in between them. My siblings pretty much left the house whenever this happened, but I'd still be home, alone, sorta, hiding and crying on the bathroom floor very quietly. This was pretty much everyday life for me. When I asked for help from my siblings, I would call one of them, and I was pretty much told to ignore it. I would be sick all the time with colds and flus, and doctors would say I was perfectly healthy. Like I mentioned earlier, my siblings and I were always in different points of our lives. When I was like 10, everyone was already starting to get married, and they were moving out to different states and really far away. At one point, I was pretty much done with being abandoned and alone from everyone I knew, and I decided to just cut off all contact from family and friends rather than to deal with disappointment. I didn't really want to express how lonely I felt or risk any more disappointment from people. When I was 15, I started doing a lot of volunteer work for nursing homes and different hospitals, and I think I accumulated about over 1,000 hours. When I was 16, I became a certified nursing assistant. I basically had no life in high school, but I felt like I was doing a good thing being a nurse. To become a CNA, you needed to get clinical hours where you worked for free in a nursing home 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It was a lot of work, and you had to assist elderly residents, we call them residents and not patients, in their daily needs, such as showering, eating, and pooping. It was actually really hard on my body, and of course, one of the days I was actually sick for like a week, and I was pretty much vomiting every second. Story of my life. I remember just finishing like taking care of one of my residents in the morning, and usually I'd be sweating bullets and sweat would be soaking through my scrubs. One of the things we needed to do was watch a demonstration of physical therapy being performed on our residents, and that's sort of just an exercise to get them using their muscles. And of course, the guy told me to watch him do it outside on the patio with the non-carpeted ground. It was like me, my friend, the therapist, and one of the residents out there. I just remember trying really hard to focus on what he was telling us. I remember squatting and getting up and not having much energy, but that was basically life as a CNA, and I don't remember, but I passed out, but I did it on the concrete ground. My glasses pretty much took a part of my face, and I had to get stitches for it. The staff at the nursing home was nice enough to wheel me away, check for my vital signs, and clean up all the blood. When I went to college, I majored in nursing. I remember every single day I would cry while studying and made time to cry a little bit before studying. It was pretty pathetic, but it was a lot of stress. And of course, around this time, I really didn't want to do nursing anymore, but I was just pushing myself to keep taking classes for it. At one point, after I finished taking most of my prerequisites for nursing, I decided I was kind of done, and I really felt burnt out from all of this and decided to just go against my parents' wishes and pursue baking instead. Baking was the only thing I really loved doing, and I could probably eat, breathe baking every second if I could and never would want to stop. I took baking classes instead, and this was a really bad time. I was always fighting with my mom and siblings because they really believed I should go back to nursing, but I really did not want to go back to those dark times. I'm always sharing like food photos with my friends and family every day, and one of my friends would randomly always mention that I should make YouTube videos, and after the 100th time of him suggesting that, I finally did it. And today we are at 1.6 million views, and I receive lots of love from all over the world. And every day you guys put a big old smile on my face.